All right, everyone. I have my boy Darrien,
What
um,
up?
former student, friend, uh, colleague. He's helped me in other things, uh, which will probably be announced in the future, hopefully in the near future. Uh, just we're working on changing the world, and I'm just grateful to have him in my life. He's just been a fellow, um, one of the most mature students I've ever encountered. He's made my life better. He's made the school where we've encountered each other better, and so that's one of the reasons why I want to bring him on. Is I can't be greedy. Gotta share him with the rest of the world, and so uh, I hope that the insights that he's going to share uh, with me during this interview that it'll be a blessing to everyone else. So, Darrien, um, glad to have you. You know, one of the requirements for being on this podcast is to wear your favorite shirt, sweatshirt, hoodie. What do you have on?
All right. So this is story behind it, a little funny. Jordan Poole, Golden State Warriors shirt. He was not my favorite player when he was on the team, but I think he was on the team for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Championship, one of them. His highlights are just good memories. And so whether it's like game 1 NBA Finals performing because he sees someone courtside,
Yeah.
or getting punched in the face by a teammate, the memories are too good. Even now that he's been traded, it's one of my favorites. I always get a comment when I wear it out. So definitely.
Definitely conversation starter, man. So, Darien, what are you passionate about? Uh,
Am I
and if
passionate
there's
about?
more than one thing, go ahead, list them all.
Okay, a few things. Uh, well, I'm studying communication
Mm,
because human interaction. That's the thing that I think is the most fascinating about the world. So just that's a really broad thing. Definitely one of them. Mental health.
mm,
Had some life experiences that made me really passionate about that.
yeah.
Uh, Especially in regards to masculinity. So like where those two topics intersect, I'm
Mm.
really interested in that. Um, Sustainability, just like that topic. Got into that in college, Santa Clara kind of, in the best way they forced that on you. So I've gotten interested in that. Um, and then also like the way Christianity presented on a global stage, not as a belief system, but as a religion, if that makes sense. Like as an
That's
institution.
wild.
So not like
Yeah.
I think there's a like there's God's will, and that's real Christianity, and then
Yeah.
there's the institution that's religion, and that the way that that's perceived, that's really
That
interesting to
the
me.
front facing to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So, in terms of all these things, we'll get to your academics in a bit. Like mental health or actually
Mm.
communications, like any of these things, especially being in Silicon Valley where uh, things may be pressed upon you because we see things pressed upon other people. Um, of these passions, how did you make it your own? How did you know that it was your own?
How do we know that communication was like my thing?
Yeah,
Ooh, good question. Um,
your parents didn't force you to do it, did they?
no, definitely not. I I'm
Oh, you cut out.
thinking about. Sorry, am I here?
Okay, there you go. You're good now.
Perfect. Sorry. Spent a lot of time, especially in high school and in the junior high, thinking about what I wanted to study in college.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, I think the best way to determine that is just to see what you're interested in the world around you. So I'd go to school every day and I'd listen in class and I'd try to focus on like that one thing that would get me really interested. And so for a little bit of time, I thought that was history, which I think is cool. I
Hmm.
always knew it wasn't math. I always knew it wasn't science. English, maybe. I don't know. No diss to you. Like it was interesting, but nothing ever really popped. But what I noticed older, senior year of high school, was I dreaded some classes, even if I liked it, I never disliked going to class
Yeah.
because the thing that interested me the most in school was like it was the fact that in that classroom was the intersection of a ton of different stories.
Mm.
And so it wasn't necessarily learning like how to find the degree of an angle in a triangle
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
in math that made me interested in going, but it was the fact that there is a woman teaching me this class. Why was she so interested in that she wants to teach it to high schoolers? And what brought all these different kids to this room to learn this? And how many of these kids want to take this somewhere with their lives? And how many of these kids are here just because? And how many of these kids do this much work because their parents are making them, and how many do it because it's their drive, and all of those things. So it wasn't any specific topic, it was just the human aspect of it. And when I did more research, I found out that communication is kind of the intersection of all of those things. So I'm
Dude.
I'm fascinated by it, which is a lot of people make fun of me for it, but that's why I do
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. I mean, that's
it.
sage
Yeah.
level wisdom, man. But I think uh what you said earlier too, which is really important, what hopefully people picked up on is, you know what, there's things that you like, but what's really important is knowing for sure what you don't like.
Yeah,
So your major
for
is
sure.
major is communications. In terms of
Mhm.
getting you there, is there anything that you did to prepare? Did you like take speech, debate? Did you publish anything? Did you write? Like how?
Um, well, I took speech and debate in high school. That
Okay.
definitely helped. Uh, Communication, the biggest thing is doing things that get you with people. And so
Mhm.
leadership classes in high school,
That's right.
ASB
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
sure. Uh, in the MC at rallies, that was fun. But
Dude, you were
it was
roasting me, man, during Ultimate Frisbee, dude. Uncalled for.
you were the only teacher playing well, so it was a team roast. It wasn't
Yeah,
a personal roast.
true that, man.
But uh, doing all those things just to get to know more people. But
Yeah,
I feel like to really get into communication, it doesn't matter where you're doing those things. It's just trying to get to know people for who they are.
yeah.
And so that came just through talking and being open and honest, being vulnerable, because that's how you get to know people.
Is there any singular pivotal moment in your life that has shaped you to who you are right now?
A single pivotal moment. I feel like there are, there are a lot of pivotal moments. I can't really think of a single one. Um, but
Talk about
uh,
all of them.
I think the biggest thing, and that's like the underlying theme, is uh, I'm part Arab, and so
Mm,
family is everything in Arab culture.
yeah,
Uh, and so growing up, prioritizing that helped me get to where I am. But then also combining that mindset and extending that to friends and family and church and all these things, and realizing that family is just that love that surrounds you. It's not necessarily a blood thing.
yeah.
I think that's the thing that's made me the most who I am, and that's the thing that's made me love life the most, is realizing that I can find family in any place.
Dude, I will attest to that, man. Um, you literally check up on me like you're my nephew, man, and I appreciate that, dude. Um, Now I wonder if we encounter this as a fellow Bronco. Um, at Santa Clara, it's a lot of collaborative work. I know
Mhm.
we do group projects there. Um, Actually, we'll come back to that in a bit. In terms of like encountering something that's completely new, yeah, let's go that angle. Like taking a class that you know nothing about, um, and you're absorbing all this information. How do you determine what's true?
I determine what's true. Um, Whoa. Um, well, a
Well,
few ways.
okay,
Because sometimes teachers will present you things that aren't true. They'll
yeah,
spin it on you later.
yeah,
Uh, Asking questions is always the biggest one. Doing your own research.
yeah,
Um, I guess it also depends on the topic, because I have to take gen ed classes, and so if something's not true in like a math class, it's just like
yeah,
we just like test it.
yeah,
If it's something about society, or the
mm,
world or
yeah,
history, you just have to open your eyes in the most broad sense of that term. You just got to look at the world and
yeah,
really ask yourself, do you think that that's true? And I
mm,
think that's my favorite thing about college, is sometimes you'll hear things and you won't think that they're true, but that that disagreement is allowed, as long as you can back it up with
yeah.
your own thoughts. So
So how do you solve problems?
honesty and vulnerability,
Mm,
always a good place to start. You got to be
mm,
honest with yourself to know what you want. You got to be honest with other people so they know what you want. Vulnerability so that they can be vulnerable, so you guys
mm.
can both collab and make something good. Um, that's where you start.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Then
yeah,
your question was, how do we address problems?
yeah, or yeah, how do you address problems? How do you solve? I think that's a great point though too, because
Yeah,
once you become vulnerable, even if that person is not being vulnerable, you know you've become vulnerable, and most of the conflict is gone because then it's on their end,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Start with the vulnerability. That's always the best place to start. Um, Vulnerability, honesty, and then no personally, but I think it always works
Mm.
out is faith and love.
Uh, the future of the communication field so far, as many classes you've taken, what does it look like? Especially, I have to ask, especially with AI.
Mhm. Uh, I think that communication. This is one of my biggest flexes on like my engineering friends. I think we're totally safe because communication is it's built on it being human. And so, like even if you want to get AI involved, if you want AI to sound more real and more human, you have to ask these people. Or if you're having problems with AI, you're gonna have to ask these people to reel it in because we're the people who study people. So, I I think communication is doing fine. If you're watching entertainment, like you want to see real people. If you are it's so broad. If you want to study people, you probably want people to be doing the studying of people. So I think that
Bars.
communication, I
Gonna
think
be
that we're
okay.
doing okay. I'm not very worried.
Dang, man. Shots fired, man. Shots fired.
It's
Don't try
no,
to start no
no,
beef on this
we
network,
don't. We're
man.
not doing beef on the pod, but
How do you I don't like to use the word failure. Maybe stumbling blocks. When you encounter stumbling blocks, setbacks, how do you handle them?
um, I feel like I've answered with this a lot. But honesty, I think that's one of the things I struggle with the most is being honest with myself because I have an ego. I'm also mad and insecure sometimes. I don't like to admit when I fail, but to be able to recognize that
Yeah.
and realize that you messed up. I think that just that honesty with yourself. Because then once you come to terms with the fact that you failed, I think that's the hardest part. Is coming
Yeah.
to terms with it. Because once you do come to terms with it, you can think straight enough to try to fix it and try to
Yeah.
learn from it, and try to move on from it. So it's getting past that first step, and I think you get past that first step through honesty, and that can be through talking to people.
Yeah.
You can look inwards. You take a step back. It really depends on the situation, but I think that your body and your soul knows what you want, and wherever you're led to, in terms of that, is probably the right way to go. But yeah.
What piece of advice would you give to someone starting off in the communications field?
Um, Two things. One, don't let other people diss on you
Mm,
because it's a field that a lot of people make a lot of jokes about, and that really does like it's funny from a distance or if it's from one of your friends,
yeah.
but the truth is that does hurt,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
when you're in college. You know, it's supposed to be this higher education and being looked down upon. It's not a good feeling. So that would be one. And then the second one would be to be vulnerable,
Mm,
embrace those new experiences, understand that you're not going to know people, take risks when you're or take safe risks when you're trying to make assumptions about people,
yeah.
but just be vulnerable when you look at the world and be willing to get
Mm,
hit and to get hurt. That's what it's all about.
mm.
It's real. That's what communication is. It's the most real thing you can study. So be ready for
You are the communications evangelist for sure, man.
it.
Um, back in my day at Santa Clara U, um, we were like top 10 in workload. Maybe it's the
Really,
quarter schedule. Do you have a lot of projects, papers, a lot of group work?
it definitely doesn't help being on the quarter system.
Okay.
But
So yeah,
yeah,
go.
no, I definitely do. Finals week is when it obviously gets really bad because you're gonna have essays for all your classes, and you got like 2 weeks to write 4 10-page essays. That's never fun. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah,
No,
workload's a lot, but when you study something that you enjoy, it
yeah,
doesn't hurt as much doing it because you're getting to research what you enjoy, what
yeah,
you love about the world. That doesn't feel like work.
yeah. A previous guest triggered me and reminded me about finals or reading or studying so much that you look at the words and they don't mean anything. Have you
Yeah,
ever had that?
it's just words. Yeah, like you go over it so much, it's just like a sound. It's you can't put language to it.
So, how are you balancing that? How do you balance your work and your personal life?
Okay, well, so I'm in my second year right now.
Yeah.
First year I didn't balance it,
Ooh,
or I
okay.
balanced it really bad to the point where spring hit,
Mm,
personal life stuff was happening,
yeah.
blended with school, and I got so stressed and so anxious that my heart actually started beating wrong. That was problem that continued throughout the summer. So it's not always something I've done well. When this school year started, what I tried to do was to I tried to just I tried to just be honest with myself.
Yeah.
Um, again, back to honesty. I tried to be honest with myself, but I also tried to be honest with my friends if I felt like I was being too overwhelmed with school,
Mm.
take a step back, and I check in with my friends, even though that doesn't really have to do with me because conversation's reciprocal.
Yeah.
If you ask them how you're doing, they'll ask you how
Yep.
you're doing, and then when you share that, you bear that pain together.
Yep.
And so I think a big part of feeling less stressed, other than like the basic stuff that you do, like schedule stuff, write
Hmm.
things down, map out your week, um, was talking to my friends about how crummy I was feeling if I was feeling really
Yeah.
bad. Um, there's some camaraderie in that, especially on
Yeah.
a college campus, and
Yeah.
going through that together makes it feel a lot better.
Are you part of any clubs at SU?
I'm part of the communication club. I'm the secretary,
Oh,
so
okay.
you get more into the department. I'm in a honors society. I don't know if that
Yeah,
counts
yeah,
as a Alpha Sigma Nu.
yeah, yeah.
That's just getting started, so
Okay.
don't really know much about what that is about. But yeah, I also play intramurals,
Oh,
so
okay.
great way to get away from school and stuff.
Sports are
Flag
important,
football
man.
with my dogs. Yeah.
Sports are important, man. And you know what? If you look at the intramurals, at least at Santa Clara, there are so many different levels. You don't have to be good. People are just going out there, just acting a fool and just trying to laugh, man.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was scared at first. I thought I was gonna get judged for not knowing what I was doing, but then when
Yeah,
I
yeah,
realized everyone's there just to not do school, like just to have fun,
yeah.
and it was the closest I've ever felt to strangers on campus was playing flag football with some random dudes. Everyone's really nice.
What's a book that has influenced you?
A book that's influenced me, other than the Bible. Uh, you ever read Cannery Row? You're from Monterey. I'm sure you have.
I no, I haven't. So that's the thing.
Really?
Yeah, even though I'm from Monterey or in that area, our school is too poor. So go figure.
No,
You can't
I'm
read.
sorry.
Oh man.
But
Yeah, but yeah, go ahead.
um, uh, I read that during a time when I was applying to colleges, and so like stylistically, seeing how John Steinbeck paints a picture, that was one thing that stuck out to me. But also,
Mm,
that book is about it has themes like loneliness
yeah.
and togetherness in response to that, and those are themes that stick out to me. Also, the way it was told, because it's
Mm,
told through the lenses of different people, and it'll switch
yeah.
from chat. Like the main character switches from chapter to chapter,
Yeah, yeah.
which is just cool to me. So
I love that. I love
yeah,
that. I mean, probably we see it in high school, definitely see it at college. You'll see it in the workforce. I mean, it doesn't change. People are trying to stay busy. They're entering into fellowship, but you don't know how they really are. I think sometimes you're in solitude, you're okay, but sometimes even when you're in a group full of people, you don't know who you are. You know, there are a lot of people just trying to find themselves. Um, Now, how do you define success? Like after you write a paper, like how do you know when enough is enough? How do you know when you're done?
um, well, if it's an assignment, following the rubric, easy, easy answer, obviously. Um,
Yeah.
but I, it's hard to define satisfaction, but I feel like you just know, right? When you're working on something, you know if you put your heart into it, and you
Yeah.
know if you gave it 100%. If you've gotten to a point in your writing where, given your thesis, you've answered any question that could be answered, I think that that's when you know you're done. If you leave nothing left, but you leave enough left for the reader to have thoughts, that's that's good writing. So that's when I know that I'm done. Also, a hard spot to find. Sometimes you got to know that you're done just because your heart isn't in anymore. But yeah,
Man, you sound like you went through the trenches, man.
it was rough. Spring was rough, man. I still think about that. It was a rough quarter, man.
What are the implications of communications? Like, um, yeah, in terms of ethics, right and wrong. What happens if someone in your field cheats or cuts corners?
In communication.
Yeah.
Um, hmm. Well, in complete honesty, if someone cheats or cuts corners and they don't get caught, I don't think that in a classroom much would happen
Mm,
because it's just school.
yeah.
But you study communication to get like with the hopes of getting out of it knowledge about the world around you.
Yeah.
And so if you cheat in a communication classroom and you don't get that, you're gonna go out into the world having learned literally like you have no skills if you cheat in a communication classroom to do anything in the world, man. Like, like genuinely, this is not dissing my own major, but communication it's hard to fail because all it takes to pass the class is to have thoughts on the world. If you want to do well, you have to apply things that you've learned, apply theories, like make real observations. But you can't fail it unless you apply your own thoughts. And if you're unable to do that, that says a lot about you as a person. I don't know how far you're gonna go in life if you can't be making observations about the world. Like so much of communication is just sitting and looking. If you can't do that, I don't know what to tell you.
Be nice,
I,
Darrien. Be nice. Be nice. No, no. Someone said university because we're so privileged. We have so many different, so a number of uh institutions that are considered top tier. Like if you go to other countries, it's pretty limited. In Korea, if you don't make it to top three universities, it's pretty hard to move into the middle class. But what we have in terms of the quality of professors from San Jose State, Santa Clara, wherever at the UCs, dude, everywhere's pretty good.
yeah,
Um, so you're going along the lines of what I'm getting from you, like you're going to this place where you have so much distilled insight, right? Um, and you're not taking advantage of it. Someone, I believe it was an academic, I don't remember where I heard it from, saying going to a university is like going into a restaurant and it's a fine restaurant. They have whatever you want, right? Everything's prepaid. So your tuition, everything's prepaid. And you just look at everything, right? And you stay there, let's say until closing, and you don't order anything, you leave. That's for someone that doesn't take advantage. I mean, people are afraid of like bad grades and all these other things. Like you need to try.
yeah.
Imagine
It's
going to a
it's.
top tier restaurant and not ordering anything. That's what it is to waste your college years.
I feel like just looking at like the educational world as a whole, that it's like the best safety bubble you can have in terms of risk taking. And college is like the it's kind of the last one, but it's also the
Yeah,
biggest one that you can have to take a risk and to actually ask questions before you have to start doing things to make money and pay taxes.
yeah,
So yeah, no, I think that's a great metaphor
yeah,
for it.
yeah. No, because yeah, you're right too. When you go into the real world, someone's paying you for their time,
Yeah.
and you don't just get to exercise whatever you want now.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else is using you're leasing out your breath, right? And every decision you make from 9 to 5 to do someone else's work, and you can't mess around.
Yeah.
How are you staying motivated and focused, especially after spring?
How am I staying motivated? I'm staying motivated by I feel like this fall quarter was the first quarter in my college career whereas I was able to see like the the benefits of working hard.
Mm,
So like I
wow.
got to be a research assistant. That honor society thing happened, and like it feels good to be rewarded. And so I think keeping that in mind that even in college, it's not just getting a degree that's the goal. Like
Yeah,
I'm making connections, I'm getting new experiences, and that keeps me going. So that keeps me focused. That keeps me driven. Also, just knowing like I have friends on this campus.
yeah,
It's not just for academics. There are
yeah,
people here that I really love and care for, and I want to be as into this college experience that I can
yeah,
be so I can enjoy it with those people that I really love.
yeah. Yeah, that first year, there's so much stimuli,
Yeah.
right? And so you're figuring things out, and like I went there, the culture shock with grades, but the good thing is I didn't really care. I just need to get
Yeah.
adjusted, and love every year afterwards because it's just like I can't wait to try this class out. I can't wait to be in the space. Like when I go into a new classroom, I'm not worried about how to make friends or introduce myself. It's just like, dude, I'm here to absorb stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you ever, when you first entered college, you know how like when there's a rookie in a league, they're like, "This is your welcome to the NFL moment" when you get
yeah.
hit super hard. Did you ever have like, is there a moment in your head you're like, "Welcome to college" moment? Did you have something like that?
It was outside of class for sure. Uh, it was probably my second year at Santa Clara. So in my first year, I joined the Black Student Union late. And before that, it was so hard because there aren't that many Black folks on campus. And so I was trying to look for community. Went to the Christian club, but it was a bit too large for me. And Uh, what else? I just tried different things, but I was a commuter student too, so that didn't help. Um, but academics were actually I had a bad class, uh, where, well, the class was interesting. The professor was adjunct, was taking the place of another professor. So a lot of things were not going right. There were a lot of setbacks. Like I said, I joined the Black Student Union, and they just gave me affirmation like, "Hey, it's just gonna be a tough first year. Just make it through. Just finish. Don't give up and don't drop out."
Yeah.
Because that's what people don't tell you is people drop out,
Yeah.
right? Um, and then the second year, I came into a Black Student Union, and everyone noticed, and that's the other thing I recommend. Just be you. You're gonna find your tribe. So I love just helping people, and I think that's still core to me to this day. And they're like, "Can you help us find volunteer programs for our members? We want to do volunteer work, but we don't know where to start." So they made me the director of community outreach, and I was like, "I have a responsibility here. I love it. Like I have a place. I have someone to care for. I have something to care for." Um, and then after that moment happened, I just felt I didn't have to do I mean, I didn't care about impression management to begin with, but in my first year, I didn't really participate in discussions. Even though I had the right answer, it was like back to like being shy again. Um, my tests were doing fine, my paper was fine, but I never participated. But that second year, because I knew I didn't care how people would judge me, or people knew who I finally who I finally was. I earned my spot
Yeah.
in on this campus. They were actually looking towards me to answer like, Robert, just go for it. And then I just kept shining. So it's there's so many things that just end up clicking. I don't think there's like one moment just like I should have courting you like what's one pivotal moment. um but yeah, so definitely joining the Black Student Union was a great moment, and
Yeah.
um that just had a domino effect on everything else. Now in terms of what is a misconception people have about communication majors, and
You know,
then part two is what is a misconception people had about you in high school.
okay. Misconception about communication majors, easy. That we're all like dumb athletes. Because for one, I'm not an athlete. Far from it. Two, smartest people I've ever met, some of the
Mm,
most driven people I've ever met are communication majors.
yeah.
Those are students and professors. Um, because the truth is, like I said earlier, the reason that so many of these like athletes that are really only at college,
Yeah.
to play sports and try to further their careers, they study communication because, like I said, it's hard to fail because
Okay.
it's not like it's not a black and white thing. You can't get an answer wrong or right.
Okay.
It's like critical thinking. What do you see in the world around you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And if you can elaborate just a little bit, you won't fail.
Yeah.
And so that's the truth. But to truly succeed in communication, it takes a real passion for the world around you. It takes creativity, depending on
Yeah.
you can get into like broadcasting and making movies and stuff, or you can get into like research. There's so many places you can go. So to really succeed in communication and to really enjoy it, and what I think most communication majors are driven people who know where they want to end up in life, who are passionate about the world around them and passionate about sharing stories and hearing stories. And I wish that that was what was promoted and what was thought of when people think of communication majors. So that's the misconception that we're all dumb people, because we're definitely not.
No.
Um, high school, and misconception about me. I I spent a lot of time in high school worrying about what other people thought about me, but I don't think I ever
Mm.
came to a conclusion about misconceptions people had about me. I don't. I mean, sometimes I thought people would think that I'm dumb
Hmm.
because when I feel like the way I carried myself in classrooms was I wouldn't take it too seriously.
Oh,
Like I try to joke around with the
yeah.
teacher. I try
Yeah,
to
yeah.
get to know people. I'd laugh if I thought something was funny,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
But I don't even know if people thought I was dumb for that. My hope is that people thought I was really just in love with the idea of being at school,
yeah.
with a
Yeah,
group of
yeah.
people. But um, I don't know. Did you have any
No, no, no,
misconceptions
no,
about me
no,
when
no,
I was
no,
your
no.
student?
That's what I gathered. You're grateful, man. That's what you're present and you're grateful.
Thank you.
Um, I think for what people don't understand about communications majors, especially when they're masters in their craft, they're scary people because it's about controlling a narrative. You think why all people in Hollywood, rappers or whoever are worried about getting canceled, all these things? These are communications people.
They know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing. They
every
know what they're
move,
doing.
every movement and every word that it has a purpose. It's not for nothing.
Yeah, for sure. In regards to uh the group work that you probably encountered, how do you handle criticism or disagreement within a group of your peers?
Um, yeah, that definitely happened.
I know it happens at
uh,
Santa Clara. That's why I
oh
had to
yeah.
ask.
I
Yeah.
mean, you got to start by analyzing what it is you're disagreeing about. You got to pick your battles. Um, and so like if it's like you think that a name should go here and someone thinks a name should get here,
Mm.
sometimes you just
No,
got to let
that's
it
real.
slide.
Yo, that sounds so
Pick your
Santa
battles
Clara,
because
dude.
it's so easy, especially in Santa Clara, to get so petty over dumb things like that. But then if it's something really major, if it's like some guy's not doing their work in a section,
Mm.
or like it's the topic for your thing, you have to have an idea, and you
Yeah.
guys can't agree on an idea. One, finding middle ground. Two, stepping up, which sucks. Sometimes you have to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And three, be willing to take a hit. This is
Yeah.
maybe a little toxic. Be willing to take a hit and let that person suffer even more. Because
Mm.
teachers and professors aren't dumb. They know when you're doing a group project, you're doing a group project. And if something doesn't happen because someone's not doing their work, that hit will be little to none on you compared to that person at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I yeah, I just have to remember that your professors are people too. And if a worst case scenario happens, something doesn't get done, your professor will know that, and you can
Yeah.
tell them that too.
Yeah.
So that's had to happen before, and it, it was annoying at first, and it stresses you out because you don't know what's going to happen. But I remember feedback communication for final project. I did great. The teammates did not. So the teacher knew.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. No, because again, um, yeah, some previous interviewees, yeah, going to like a UC, they don't have a lot of group projects. So, but yeah, when you mentioned that, I was like, good, you're triggering flashbacks, man. Um, what's an idea or concept in the field of communications that excites you that you didn't know existed?
Really broadly, just like interpersonal communication.
Yeah.
So that's just like what we're doing now. Just
Oh
one on
yeah.
one. Like sparking
Mm,
real connection.
yeah.
That's the thing that, like, if I choose an emphasis in communication, that's what I want it to be.
Okay.
Um, More specifically, there's this one thing we learned about in my interpersonal communication class. It's called the Jhari Window, and it's a kind of weird thing. It's one of those things where it's one of those things everyone knows about, but this Jhari dude just put like a name to it, and it's like
Okay.
a square put it into four sections,
Hmm.
and it's different aspects of the self that you are aware of and different aspects of yourself that other people are aware of. So it's four different blocks, and one of them's like the things that you know about yourself that others know about you. Then there's the things you know about yourself that others don't know about you, so a secret.
Yeah.
Then there's the things you don't know about yourself that other people know about you.
Hmm.
So like easy example, if you have like a stain on your shirt, you didn't
Yeah.
notice
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Easy example. And then the other one is the things no one, or I guess just God,
Yeah.
knows about
Yeah.
you.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
and I just think that's really interesting, especially the unknowns. But when I've tried to help friends with problems regarding other people,
Yeah.
I find myself referring to that a lot. Like, you got to care for the whole individual, but you have to remember this is who this person has revealed themselves to be towards you.
Yes. Right.
And
Yeah.
with as much love as possible, you have to treat them like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much most of our conversations. When you talk about off hours and real life and just interesting encounters, right?
Yeah,
Because people don't know what they don't know. Um, but at the same time, it's wild how people can't police their own imaginations. And ourselves too. And
yeah,
ourselves too. Uh, how do you approach learning something new? I mean, I just like how you were excited about the Jhari window. Like,
it's cool.
so say like, yeah, you're taking a new class, has nothing to do with your field. How do you buy in?
Buy in. I I think this is harder to do in some subjects than others, but you have to find where you can relate to it. Even if it's in the most like tiny, you barely even relate to it. Like you're learning a different language, so like you have to find where in some way you can connect to it. Like I took a calculus 2 class this quarter, because I'm double majoring in econ, which I'm not a big fan of, but uh, I didn't like it. when our teacher said you can use this thing that we're learning to make like graphs of mountains and stuff, I instantly related to it because I thought, okay, this is something that you could use for business, which I don't love, or something you could use for like not business, which I'm more into. And so that made me care about it. And then also just being in the classroom, someone who cares about the interpersonal connections.
Yeah.
This is a teacher who's passionate about it.
Yeah.
I can get passionate about this too. Um, English class, we're talking about veganism. I'm far from that,
Mhm.
but I do care about animals at least a little bit. I have friends who have pets. Okay, that's my way in. I can try to get excited about this. And then I think slowly but surely, if you follow that thought process, you'll get to a point where you can bear the class. You can deal with it. But you have to find something that gets you excited about it. Even if it's just like another person in that class.
Yeah.
If you got reason to be there, you have reason to learn there.
There you go. Wow.
Follow. Yeah.
All right. What's a question you wish people would ask themselves more often?
Hmm. Um, I wish that people would ask themselves more often. Um, I guess this is kind of following on theme with everything else, but am I being honest?
Mm,
I think that obviously the biggest communication problems come
mm,
if you're not being honest with someone. Or I think one of the worst feelings is when you're having like an open discussion with someone and then you leave knowing there's that one thing you didn't share that you wish that they knew. That I don't like that feeling. And I think
mm.
that if more people were open and honest, but in once again a loving way,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think the world would be a better place. So I think with all of the questions that you've asked me today, like applying that to the real world, if you're being honest with people in a respectful way,
Yeah,
the problems that you fear would come from that would not come from that,
yeah.
or they would be as minimized as possible.
You know what's just to piggyback on when we talk about disagreements, group projects, and Santa Clara. But here's the thing: if you do wrong to no one, despite the outcome of like that project or that situation, people remember how you treat them and how you made them feel,
Yeah,
how you were honest, and your currency is your reputation, and that's what I really love about Santa Clara because you encounter people
yeah.
more than once.
Oh yeah, you see people every day sometimes.
So,
Blessing and a curse.
yeah, so 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, if it's a business or whatever it is, and I don't like to use the word networking, but you have a community of fellows,
Yeah.
and that's something that you can control. So yeah, do yourself a favor. Ask yourself, am I being honest? Um, how do you see your work impacting society in the future?
My work right now, or the work I want to have
The
one
work
day.
you want to have. There you
The work
go.
I want to have. I feel like I'm still figuring that out. Right now, I think I want to work in education, uh, like in administration, so like
Mm,
being a principal or a superintendent. But I'm really set on working in education just because you were saying something earlier, something about like I think it was about like lost people or like I forget something about being in a bubble. I don't know. It was something to the effect of why I care about so much of education. And
yeah, yeah,
the reason I want to work there is another question I ask myself: what are we doing if we're not helping the kids? Because then we're just people who live life, make all these mistakes, learn all these lessons, and we
yeah,
pass it on to no one. That's the dumbest thing you can do. And so I I want to be someone who tries to help people,
yeah,
especially lost people. And I think a lot of people when you're younger, that's we're always lost. But I
yeah.
think especially when you're younger, that's a lost time. And to be able to offer a hand using the wisdom that you've gained, that's like the biggest blessing you can ask for. And so that's the world I want to be in.
100%. What's a dream or goal you're currently working towards?
Um, other than graduating, um,
That's a great goal.
yeah, man. Double majoring.
Yeah.
I don't know how easy that's gonna be, but it's something I really want to do. In all honesty, just because the communication has a bad rap, and so
No,
I think it would be nice to have two things just so people I my dream is to go to an interview and people ask me what I major in, to lead with communication and then drop the businessy one after. That's my dream. So that's the goal I'm working towards.
Now, we're closing in to the end of the podcast. So we're gonna have basically four questions. Three of them will be existential. So,
Love
um,
that.
what is anxiety?
Um, I think anxiety is that feeling when you're stuck in a room and you're all by yourself and the walls are closing in and you don't think there's anything you can do about it. That's what anxiety is for me. When you were my teacher, actually, sophomore year of high school, they don't tell many people this. That was when I started struggling with anxiety.
Mm,
It was sophomore and junior year. So on my medical record, like
yeah.
anxiety is something I struggle with a lot. And at the times where it's been the worst, you could be in the most open spot, open place in the world, and it feels like
Mm,
everything's closing in. There's like you're super scared about tomorrow or something that happened yesterday, and even in the the panic forces you in the moment, but you don't feel like you're in the moment. You just feel like you're getting squished with all this time. That is what anxiety is.
right. What is love?
Um, man, love is what Jesus does for us, right? I always thought that love was hard to define, but I think that love is something we just inherently know because we're made from it. So
Mm,
love is
bars.
that good feeling that we get when we're with other people. It's that warmth, that goodness. It's the urge that we have to connect. That's what love is.
Bars.
To connect on a deeper level.
What is the meaning of life?
Dude. What is the meaning of life? I mean, to be completely honest with you, I think that that's a question that we'd never have an answer to until we get really old. And you've lived so much life, you can look back and you can say that's what this was about. But
Wow.
I
I like that.
no, but I'll answer though. I'll answer though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
At
yeah.
this stage in my life, 20-year-old dude, that the meaning of life is to take whatever gifts you've been given, share it with the world in the most beneficial and loving way that you can. And so at the end of the day, when you go to bed at night, you can know that God is pleased. I that that's what I think my life is about. And I think that's what everyone's life is about at the end of the day. We're all working towards something and we all want someone to be pleased in us. I think that's for a reason. And I think that
Mm,
we're looking for that from God, even if some people don't know it.
mm,
So
wow.
yeah.
Um, Last question. What advice would you give to young people, especially high schoolers, um, and maybe more targeted towards seniors in high school?
Be vulnerable. Be vulnerable for sure. Um it's high school is a weird time. It's a time where I think every single person who has left it can look back and say, I wish I did something else, or I wish I didn't do that, and I wish I did more of that. But that's the way that you avoid some of those. Or you're I first of all, it's impossible to leave that time without regret because we're humans. But um, being vulnerable during that time, that's being willing to take risks.
Yeah.
That's being okay with embarrassing yourself in front of other people. That's you know, getting up in front of the class, being honest with your feelings. But through all of those things, you get new experiences, you make new relationships, um, and you leave knowing that you gave this situation your entire and honest self, and that's what fulfillment is. And so, if you're vulnerable, I think that's how you can leave those years thinking you did a good job. That's also how looking forward, especially for the seniors, that's how you know that you're going to do well in the next stage of life. As you know that you're going to do well as yourself
Yeah.
because you're going to go to college. You're going to be able to completely redefine yourself with all of these new people who you've never met before, but you're never going to feel truly fulfilled unless you're doing it vulnerably and as yourself. So That's the advice I would give.
And on that note, thank you so much for those jewels, all those bars, Darrien. It was such a pleasure to have you. Uh, look forward to bringing you back on next year, see where you're at, uh, and seeing if you're still asking the question, am I being honest?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Time will tell. But thank you for having me. It was fun, man.
All right. Thank you, Darrien. Bye.